Hey, this is Alan Ting, TEDx speaker, #1 best-selling author. Welcome to another series of Expert Series interview. And in this series, this is something I'm super passionate about. The topic is about speak up, stand out, and how public speaking cultivates our children's leadership development. And in our interview today, we have a very special guest. In fact, he's so special. He is one of my coaches for when I did a TEDx talk. So much great thing to say about Anthony because he serves with his heart and he wants to help us make a difference in the world. And he is the executive communication coach for the Heroic Voice Academy, where he impacts leaders for their most important presentations and conversation. And he's helped so many people like myself who presented on today's impact stages and leadership, including TEDx, South by Southwest, Wisdom 2.0, just to mention a few. And this journey includes a presentation gym that he talks about where they help you amplify your leadership voice and help you magnify your vision for the future. So without further ado, let's have a warm welcome with Anthony Lee.
Alan, I am so happy to be here. I just recall back to the time when you were preparing for TEDx and us getting into the gym pretty regularly. And it's not all the speakers today that put in that amount of effort. And I think that that can be the bar that's set, because when we really make an effort to develop those skills, the impact that we can make is just off the charts.
Hat off to Anthony because, wow, man, there are times where I don't know if I can do this. I literally kind of give you guys behind the scene, right? Anthony and I put together almost about 100 hours, combined effort, probably maybe 150 or more hours on a 12-minute speech. So that's kind of give you a lot of effort. But anyhow, let's go ahead and dive deep into the conversation. I know we as Asian Americans at least have tendency to see where eventually we hit that proverbial glass ceiling and we can't climb in higher. So whether it's a management position or executive positions or a CEO position, and I see time and time over again, it's because of not being able to be comfortable around public speaking. Do you also see that as a case? And if so, is this something that we can talk more about? Why do you think?
Yeah, I think, well, there's multifacets and we can spend a whole hour talking about this. But I'm thinking of my technical career. There was obviously a group of people that chose the technical track. They're good programmers, they're great engineers. They rarely have to present. And there's those that go into sales, those that go into the C-suite. And their job is to use their voice to lead an organization. So the career choices we make early on chooses the amount of opportunities where we are encouraged to take the stage. I think it's a cycle too. A lot Asian American children choose the technical route, then there's not many examples of leaders that take the other route. And as parents, I'd say, let's mine for those. Who are the Asian leaders of any generation that are out there doing a great job, making an impact? Right now, they're few and far between, but I think the more that we bring those, the more we showcase them, the more that children will see beyond what is perceived as a glass ceiling. Because think about it, growing up, my dad didn't do public speaking. He retired in the middle management role. I didn't have examples. It was only when I got into the corporate world and I was working at an entry-level job at the help desk for a database company. But there's one gentleman, his name's Brad, he Chinese American, and he was in sales and he was going out and doing presentations to huge Fortune 500 companies. So I had someone and I saw, whoa, this is a career path. I could actually go do that and get off the support desk and really shine. So the more we find them today, whether they are established leaders or just leaders in the organization that took a not unusual path, but not well-treaded path. And just to see that it's possible, that's the first step.
Yeah, in my parenting academy, we talk about finding your child's strength and use that, not their weakness. As a kid, I used to always get in trouble in school for talking too much in class. I get the teachers know, Alan's not paying attention, he's always talking in class and things like that, right? Basically amount there's no bright future later on in life. So I wish I have a chance to go back and tell my teacher, I think I turned out okay.
Well, Alan, you did a TED Talk, right? Just doing that, you up the percentages of Asians who make the TED stage. So you're doing exactly what you want more parents to be doing. And even if you don't speak, right, find an opportunity to speak and let your child see you do that. It could be at a community meeting, right? It could be at a volunteer event, right? Any situation where you break through through what your children see as a ceiling is a good thing. And unless they see you do it, they're going to be reluctant to do it as well.
What do you think about public speaking engages at an early age will help contribute our children's overall leadership development?
You know, Alan, one of my favorite teaching examples was that we all know how to do public speaking. And I bring everybody back to their very first public speaking exercise, which is in kindergarten, we learned how to do show and tell. We did it without notes. We did it without slides. We just picked up something, walked to the front of the room, and talked. So when someone says, I don't have public speaking skills, are you kidding me? You did this when you were 5. I think as we grow up, Alan, one of the things that get in the way is now public speaking needs to sound a certain way. I need to look a certain way instead of just go up there and talk. So I think if we just continue this exercise of show and tell throughout our lives, it's going to make us confident to speak without notes and without slides and in our authentic voice.
Yeah, I remember I didn't grow up here. I grew up in Taiwan. And as I remember when I was a kid, like when we have to go up and do a public presentation in front of a crowd, we have a notebook like this and we'll say like, good morning, principal. Good morning, vice principal. Good morning, all the parents. Good morning, all the little friends, like, children. My name is, that's the format, that's the framework they talk about. It's very rigid and it's not, nothing's off the cuff, right? Everything's written, but then it's like, doesn't show what it comes from our heart. And when we can't show from our heart, we have a hard time to connect with our audience.
That's true.
So well, anyway, that's one of the secret of public speaking. But anyhow, so tell us more about how does that being able to speak publicly help us like cultivate leadership development, and why is that important?
Well, the thing is to be prepared for any situation. And, I think about youth sports, and there's good and bad sides about youth sports, but the good thing about it is we cultivate a habit of practice. Just get in the field and practice your free throws, practice your kicks. And just getting into the gym is a leadership practice, so that if you fast forward in their career, when they have a presentation, they're going to do the rehearsals because it's necessary. And it's not where they're winging it or waiting to the last minute to present. So things that we establish in our youth, these practice habits do translate to how we prepare for a big thing in the future. Alan, there's a story about John Chambers. So John is the ex-CEO and ex-chairman of Cisco. And I had a chance to run a green room for him. And even before he came to the event, he did a lot of preparation. He practices like no other. He has pre-meetings. He comes into the green room to do a run-through for a fireside chat. Then he gets on stage. And I learned that this was something that he developed in his youth, not by choice, but by circumstance. So John has a mild form of dyslexia, which means that it was rough for him in school, which means he had to practice a lot to be able to get in front of the classroom and do equal to his peers. And that habit never went away. Still today, for a fireside chat, he's like you, he invested hours and hours and hours. And I know that in the history of Cisco, so there's an annual meeting that the CEO speaks at, and his rating was always 4.7 or above out of 5. No other CEO that's followed him has gotten a 4.7. So it's just, the secret is practicing in your youth and liking practice.
Wow, that's so amazing. So if you guys don't know Cisco, not the shipping company, it's the technology company, the network company, Cisco. And then if you guys are not familiar with what green room is, this is where professional speakers or musicians, they go practice, get warmed up before they actually come on live stage. Tell us more about that, because I think we have a tendency of doing, not most parents, but I've seen this kind of over and over. Regular pattern is that when our children start to speak, we have a tendency to correct them. When we correct them, that kills their confidence, kills their self-esteem. Like, no, you should not talk that way. No, you should do it this way. So tell us about when we give feedback way too early, how does that hurt the conversation? How does that hurt the confidence?
It's so funny because, you and I have done the feedback framework so many times, like 100 times or more. So the key here really is, this feedback can apply to anything, especially with kids. So it's a 3-part framework. And you always start with what works. Being in a mindset of, oh, I screwed up, or I wish I didn't do that. Naturally, that's going to come up. But when you train and you're very young, your parents, your coaches, the best thing they could do is to lock in everything that went well. Right? Because if they go to that negative space, you're going to miss all of the things to lock in to keep on doing. When you and I went through run-throughs, that's what we started out with. And that's how we're able to stack more and more items onto your presentation. And And by the end, it was filled with all of the best practices. So I'd say as a parent, start with noticing everything that went well. Now, what happens to your child who gets not just the accolade, but seriously, a best practice? Oh, you did this well? Keep on doing it. That's retained. So that's number one. The second part is, and this is the tough part, right? The negative feedback. And I always frame it as, well, it's not really negative. Could we take out anything that's inefficient or ineffective? In the technical world, Alan, if I were to tell a programmer, those lines of code didn't work, they say, okay, they just take it out, write another line of code. And I'm sure as a parent, there's another way of doing that. Hey, this particular word didn't work. What's another fun word that you can use? Making it not about the person and being messy, but about the content. The content is a work of art. It can always be created. There was something else in here as well. Permission to be messy. You know that. We went through lots of messiness, but it's going through those messy iterations that you get to the gold at the end. Celebrate your mistakes and laugh when you flub something. And there's a story, and this is also a TEDx story. Prior to my work with you, I worked with a gentleman who spoke at TEDx 2014 in Salt Lake City. He's the CEO of his company, lots riding on the line, and he went on stage. He delivered 3 lines and he flubbed the 4th. There's a choice there, right? He can just keep on going. But what he did was amazing. He asked the audience, hey guys, this is an important speech for me. Is it okay if I go off stage and start over again? And he got a round of applause. That was fun for me to watch because he laughed at himself flubbing something. He was authentic, he was vulnerable, went off stage. The audience was even more into it. So as a parent, encourage our children to do it again and encouraging in a way that's fun, that's engaging, that's authentic. Oh yeah, I do want to do it again. Let's go. That's what you wanted to create in a feedback process.